think it's always that first day of getting into pads to see, how everybody does. So from a standpoint of some of the scheme work that we were trying to do, you maybe put that on the back burner a little bit and try not to be as critical about, guys necessarily being in the right exact positions, or maybe some of the communication goes down a little bit. You're obviously going to correct it and coach it and hold them to a high standard. But what was good was to try to see the energy of, guys playing with good pad level, really trying to work on the fundamentals that we've been practicing on since the spring, where you're not really sure what that's going to look like when it's a live body moving across from you. Again, the different stages that we have where you can hit bags, those are stationary objects. Now you put that human element of it where guys are moving. That's where kind of the reactionary quickness comes in, and some of the different athleticism shows up as far as being able to move your feet and follow. Another good part of it too, which I thought was good yesterday, some of the guys that were in the run plays, being able to make contact, sustain it, and then finish it in a manner that protects everybody. But you could see the transition from, okay, here's the contact, here's the hit, okay, what's next? And that's really what you never know until you get the pads on. So I thought a couple guys did that pretty well.
Can you explain?
How closely do you look at what guys do late in practice when they're a little bit tired, when you're starting to get a little bit of fatigue?
Absolutely.
How important is that?
That's a critical part of what we're trying to do. Is a lot of times in practice I'm trying to wear them out. And I'll put some of the more difficult periods at the end of practice, where they are probably the most fatigued or tired mentally, especially, and you try to see how many mistakes they make in that situation, because obviously in the critical parts of the game. And as the game goes, when we get to that sort of phase where the first quarter may be one thing, the second quarter is a little bit more important, critical. You get to the end of the first half, that's a very important part. Third quarter, there's some definitely changes in the game that take place that try to, manipulate control of it. But by the time you get to the fourth quarter, that's where you're really gaining control of the game. The points are more important. The yardage is more important. Time of possession, everything increases from a critical standpoint, and you try to simulate that in practice. So by the end of the practice, the fourth quarter, we have to perform at the highest level. So you really want to make sure you have some team periods mixed in there that are that sort of intense, situational, fundamental period that has to be executed at a high level. So we're definitely trying to evaluate those at the end.
Ties in with that, but at the very end you have a period for the young guys who don't get a lot of reps. Maybe what are you looking for in that period?
Yeah, you always go through practice, and obviously you're trying to manage 90 guys, so it's a little bit difficult, and you don't want to make things too exaggerated from a length standpoint. So it's just a good opportunity for us to maybe pull out some reps for those particular players that maybe didn't get a lot of reps during practice, and concentrate on things that they can do really well. You're going to have guys that come in that are first-year guys or second-year guys, or guys that are still learning a lot of system. Those people are going to be at different levels than maybe guys that's been here for 8, 9, 10 years in the league. So some of the scheme things that you're going to be doing with the older players maybe at a higher level, and sometimes you just want to dial it back. You just want to take that time to really kind of make it vanilla, if you will, and just see if they can perform and execute some basic fundamental stuff in the game without there being the pressure of understanding all the other scheme stuff that are required for the older guys. And you can get that really good evaluation of them as just a pure football player in a different setting. So, stretch some of the older guys and put them in a situation where they're cooling down, where the other guys are getting extra reps. And that way, in the end, because we're always trying to balance, what everybody's getting on the field, and it changes from day to day. But in the end, you're just trying to make sure you get enough of an opportunity to evaluate those guys, enough reps.
Matt, we've seen Jace Billingsley over the last 3 years develop as a receiver on the practice field. I was wondering where you see he can contribute in other ways, particularly on special teams, as he tries to carve his path to a roster spot.
Sure. I mean, like all those guys out there, I think he's definitely a guy that's he's a smart player. Obviously, a guy that transitioned to a different position and has learned a lot there, but is still really learning some of the intricacies of the techniques, releases, routes, breaks, coverage. They got to learn the whole coverage aspect of it too, which when you're not a receiver from that standpoint, you're trying to understand leverage and man-to-man zone, reading middle of the field, open middle field, close, kind of some of those things. So there's a lot of learning going there. So that's definitely progressed. But the special teams part of it's critical too. You're talking about a guy that's tough and, plays hard, plays fast. So in some of those, again, you guys will relate to this, those time and space plays, right? Those are the big key words right now, where guys are quick and can move through those space plays at a high level. They have a lot of value. So that's a great opportunity for him to prove that to us.
We haven't seen an Oklahoma drill around here in a while. What do you get out of that drill? I'm just
Yeah, I mean, it's not really the old school, like people lie, like, helmet to helmet, drop the ball, and when you guys get up. What we were trying to do was just obviously there's a reactionary, method to who gets up off the ground faster, and you're down, you're up kind of mentality in the football game, which happens. But really, what it was trying to put everybody in a close proximity, kind of a one-step situation that was a little bit more than a setup, where we could concentrate on keeping the head up, keeping the top of the helmet out of where the contact points should be, trying to make sure that the face mask, we're seeing what we hit, and doing that in more of a reactionary sort of method as opposed to a staged method. Because in the end, if we're studying everything and we're trying to take a look at, obviously, coaching the game properly, like we've been doing for years, sometimes when they gets just that instant at the end, guys naturally may go to something that you're trying not to have them, a position that you're not want them in. So that we were trying to create that, instead of being a stage setup where it's like, okay, it's easy. I know I'm going to keep my head up. I know I'm going to have my right fit. I know I'm going to have the proper shoulder. I know I'm going to be able to drive the legs. Give them something just a little bit different, make them react, and then see if they instantly get into that position again, obviously in a safer environment where there's not that much space where you're going to have this huge collision.
Some of that,
Go ahead, Mike.
is some of that also due to the new the helmet-to-helmet contact rules? Does that play any part of it?
A lot of the new helmet rule and stuff like that we're going through is just education in the classroom. I think, me as a coach, and I've been doing this for a little while, I've never ever taught anybody to hit with the top of their head, and really no coaches ever have. I mean, we have a poster that's been in our locker room, I think, since 1940. Like, it's the same poster, It's bow the neck, put it in between your shoulder pads, And the league is doing everything they can to educate and make sure that the science backs up everything that we've been teaching. And I think that just helps the players understand how important it is that they listen. It actually helps us as a coach. A lot of times we get up there and we stand and we say, hey, we got to do it this way, or make sure we're taking care of each other in this position. And, we're just coaching it because we know it's right. We, have been taught it that way. But, some of the players are looking at us like, well, why does that matter? Now we actually have some just information kind of backing us up. So it just helps us to be able to teach it properly from that way. And there are definitely some things that are a little bit different. You got to tweak here and there based on the advancement of the game, and that's important. But I think from the fundamental standpoint of the new rule and all that, we're always trying to teach the safest possible way to play the game. That is number one, most important for all of us, is that, the players are safe. That's what we want.
Just in general, do you think that'll have a big impact in terms of, fines, suspensions this year?
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see when we get to that, when we get to that point of playing games, It'll be good when we get the officials here and they can take a look and help us there too.
One other drill that seems a little different, maybe it isn't, I haven't seen it before, is the strip drill, security drill, even for the defensive players. Why is that? Is that when you get the ball, keep the ball?
Yeah, we'll bring it up. So in 2006, we played a critical game out in San Diego. It became the end of the game, and yeah, they had an opportunity. That was a really good Charger team. They had an opportunity to turn the ball over at the end of the game, and Troy Brown, who's just one of the best players I've ever been around, both on and off the field, made an unbelievable play where he, stripped it out and we recovered it and we had an opportunity to go on and win. So that's one of those coaching moments you never forget, the importance of both sides of the ball and ball security. So we try to do that as much as we can.
So you ended Marty's career.
Was that?
So you ended Marty's career.
No, that was not me at all. It was Troy Brown.
We talked to Tease yesterday. He just talked about, once his playing days are over down the line, that he'd like to be a head coach. I know you've been around guys that have made that transition. Mike Grable comes to mind. But, what attributes maybe does he have that kind of maybe might get him there eventually?
Sure. Well, I mean, trying to worry about today's practice here right now. But, as far as him, when we had that conversation, here's what I'll tell you. Works extremely hard, loves the game, studies the game. When you make that transition from playing to coaching, the view of the game broadens. The concepts of what you're doing expands. So one of the things that, we teach in a conceptual manner, I think that'll benefit him a lot, and I think he's really trying to understand how do all the pieces fit together. What does my job affect the next guy, across me, or how does it affect the other side of the ball? And really just kind of that full conceptual understanding of the game, which he really loves. Like, he dives into that stuff, and he wants to learn. And I'll go off on my tangents in the meeting room about West Coast offense and where it originated and all that. But he loves that stuff. And if you have that sort of passion about the history of the game and where it came from, it can help you be a better coach. And he just loves that stuff. So I think from that standpoint of it, the rest of it is, his work ethic and all that. He knows how to run drills. He understands that stuff on the field, and he's going to get more experience that as the more he plays. So just being able to kind of, put all of it together from a coaching standpoint will be great for him. Okay.
Was he dehydrated or he tweaked something?
Yeah, LeGarrette, he just had to go in and, they had to check him out. So I think he should be okay today. We'll see him out there.
Jamal Agnew's one of those.
Okay. All right. Thanks. Appreciate it. See you guys at practice.